Ottawa in winter presents a city shaped as much by temperature as by design. Snow settles along wide ceremonial streets, stone buildings appear more pronounced, and movement slows without stopping. Daily life continues within a landscape that feels quieter, more deliberate, and closely tied to the season. What defines Ottawa during winter is balance. This is a capital city, but also a place where outdoor spaces, civic institutions, and everyday neighborhoods remain connected. Tourism here does not rely on spectacle alone. It is built around walkable districts, winter-specific activities, and public spaces designed to function year-round. The experience combines historic areas, compact downtown routes, seasonal markets, and museums that become especially relevant when temperatures drop. The city tends to shift inward without losing its sense of openness. One reason for this is how closely major attractions sit within a manageable distance of each other, allowing winter travel to feel structured rather than fragmented. In this guide, the focus stays on how Ottawa works as a winter destination. From central neighborhoods to outdoor corridors and indoor cultural spaces, each stop reflects how the city adapts to colder months while remaining accessible to visitors. Now, the focus moves closer. The following sections take a closer look at key places to visit and winter activities across the city. ByWard Market is one of Ottawa's oldest and most active districts, functioning as both a historic marketplace and a year-round social center. Laid out near the original heart of the city, the area brings together outdoor stalls, permanent vendors, restaurants, and small shops within a compact grid of streets. Even in winter, activity remains steady. Snow narrows sidewalks, steam rises from food counters, and the market adapts rather than slows. What matters here is variety. The market is not defined by a single attraction, but by how many roles it plays at once. Fresh produce and local goods sit alongside cafes, casual dining, and long-established eateries. During colder months, indoor spaces become more prominent, while outdoor stalls operate on a reduced but focused scale. The pattern becomes clear when observing foot traffic. Locals pass through for daily errands, while visitors linger, treating the area as a first introduction to the city. Seasonal changes reshape how the market is used. Winter brings shorter daylight hours and colder temperatures, but it also adds clarity. Architectural details stand out against snow-covered streets, and movement becomes more intentional. Events and nearby holiday programming often extend into the market area, reinforcing its role as a gathering point rather than a single destination. Directly beside the market sits CF Rideau Centre, one of the city's main indoor commercial hubs. The transition between the two spaces is seamless. Outdoor market streets give way to a climate-controlled interior, offering shops, food courts, and a practical pause from the cold. This connection allows visitors to move easily between open-air exploration and indoor comfort before continuing deeper into the city. From here, the route naturally extends into Ottawa Downtown. This area forms the functional core of the capital, where government buildings, offices, hotels, and cultural institutions sit within a relatively compact zone. Streets are broader, movement is more structured, and winter infrastructure becomes more visible. Underground passages, heated interiors, and short walking distances shape how the downtown area operates during colder months. Ottawa Downtown tends to feel orderly rather than crowded. The rhythm is set by public institutions and workday routines, with tourism fitting into that structure instead of disrupting it. Museums, guided parliamentary areas, and central landmarks are positioned close enough to encourage walking, even in winter. Together, this creates a downtown experience that feels deliberate, navigable and closely tied to the city's role as a capital. The Rideau Canal plays two very different roles depending on the season. In warmer months, it functions as a navigable waterway, with boats moving between locks and sightseeing routes forming along the canal's length. When winter arrives, that function shifts completely. The water freezes, paths are cleared, and the canal becomes part of daily movement through the city. Recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, Rideau Canal gains a distinct purpose in winter as the world's longest naturally frozen outdoor skating rink. What matters here is scale and continuity. The frozen surface stretches across central neighborhoods, linking residential areas with downtown routes. Skating becomes both a recreational activity and a form of transit, shaped by weather conditions and maintained when temperatures allow. Running parallel to this system is the Rideau River, which defines a quieter edge of the city. Unlike the canal, the river is less structured for winter activity, but it frames parks, walking paths, and residential zones. Snow-covered banks and slower currents shift attention toward landscape rather than movement, offering a contrast to the canal's seasonal intensity. At the center of Ottawa's civic identity stands Parliament Hill. Overlooking the river, this complex houses Canada's federal institutions and serves as both a working government site and a major visitor location. The Gothic Revival architecture, elevated setting, and open grounds make it one of the most recognizable places in the country, regardless of season. Parliament Hill offers guided tours that provide access to active political spaces while explaining how the system functions. These tours are free of charge and designed to give general context rather than detailed political debate. Availability depends on parliamentary schedules, but when open, they form one of the most accessible ways to understand how Canada's government operates. Guided tours of the Senate focus on the upper chamber of Parliament, explaining its role in reviewing legislation and representing regional interests. The spaces visited emphasize ceremony, continuity, and institutional design, offering insight into how tradition and governance intersect. Guided tours of the House of Commons center on the elected chamber, where members debate and pass legislation. The experience highlights procedural structure, seating arrangements, and the daily mechanics of parliamentary work, framed in a way that remains approachable for visitors. Parliament, the immersive experience adds a multimedia layer to this context. Through projections, narration, and digital storytelling, the experience explains parliamentary history and processes without requiring access to live chambers. It functions year-round and is particularly relevant when certain areas are unavailable. East Block tours are limited to the summer season and are not offered during winter months. When open, they focus on heritage offices and historical functions rather than active parliamentary proceedings, rounding out the broader understanding of the complex. Ottawa's museum landscape plays a central role in how the city functions as a winter destination. When outdoor movement becomes more limited, museums shift from optional stops to core anchors of the travel experience. Many are located close to downtown routes, designed for long visits, and structured to work independently of weather. Together, they shape a cultural network that remains active throughout the colder months. Several of these institutions stand out not only for their collections, but for how they interpret Canadian identity, nature, and history. Taking a closer look at a few key museums helps clarify why Ottawa's museum scene is so closely tied to winter tourism. Canadian Museum of Nature is one of the city's most visually distinctive museums, housed in a historic stone building that feels especially prominent in winter. Inside, the museum is organized around immersive galleries that move from Canada's northern environments to deep geological time. The Arctic Gallery focuses on northern ecosystems and indigenous knowledge, presenting life in extreme climates through wildlife specimens, environmental context, and cultural perspectives. The Fossil Gallery shifts attention much further back, tracing the history of life through large-scale fossil displays that emphasize evolution and extinction. The Mammal Gallery examines diversity and adaptation across land-based species, with full-body mounts that highlight scale, movement, and habitat. Nearby, the Bird Gallery concentrates on migration, anatomy, and seasonal behavior, reinforcing how climate shapes survival patterns. The Water Gallery explores freshwater and marine systems, connecting rivers, lakes, and oceans to climate processes and biodiversity. The Earth Gallery brings these themes together by focusing on geology, minerals, and planetary forces, explaining how landscapes form over time and why Canada's terrain varies so widely. At the conclusion of the visit, appreciation goes to the museum team and the Media Relations Department for their media collaboration and for the welcoming, well-guided approach that supports clear storytelling within the galleries. Canadian War Museum offers a very different but equally structured experience. The museum presents Canada's military history through a chronological and thematic layout, designed to move visitors from early conflicts to contemporary operations. The architecture itself reinforces this narrative, using space, light, and long sight lines to guide movement. Exhibits combine artifacts, vehicles, personal accounts, and large-scale installations to explain not only events, but their broader impact on society. Rather than focusing solely on battles, the museum emphasizes cause and consequence, including political decisions, civilian experiences, and post-conflict memory. Temporary and permanent galleries work together to provide both depth and context, making extended visits common during winter months. Special thanks are extended to the Canadian War Museum team and the Media Relations Department for their media collaboration, and for the clear, approachable guidance that supports meaningful engagement with the collection. Canadian Museum of History stands just across the river from downtown Ottawa and plays a key role in how the region presents national identity. The museum focuses on the social, cultural, and human history of Canada, using large-scale exhibitions to explain how communities, traditions, and institutions developed over time. Its location reinforces the idea that Ottawa's cultural core extends beyond administrative boundaries, connecting the capital to a wider historical landscape. Inside, the museum emphasizes long timelines rather than isolated events. Permanent galleries explore Indigenous histories, early settlement, migration, and the evolution of Canadian society, often through immersive environments and large artifacts. The approach prioritizes context, allowing visitors to move through centuries of change while maintaining a clear narrative structure. During winter, the museum functions as a major indoor anchor, well-suited for extended visits. Within the same complex, the Canadian Children's Museum adds a different layer to the visit by focusing on younger audiences and family-oriented exploration. Designed around interactive environments rather than traditional display cases, the space introduces global cultures through hands-on exhibits and role-based settings. The emphasis is on participation and curiosity, allowing children to engage with everyday life in different parts of the world while remaining connected to the broader historical themes of the main museum. During winter, it functions as a practical indoor option for families, extending the length and flexibility of a museum visit without shifting location. Gatineau, where the Canadian Museum of History is located, forms an integral part of the National Capital Region, despite sitting across a provincial boundary. Positioned directly opposite downtown Ottawa, the city is closely connected through bridges, shared transit routes, and cultural institutions. Gatineau combines government offices, residential neighborhoods, and park access, creating a setting where urban life and natural landscapes intersect. For visitors, it often functions as a continuation of the capital rather than a separate destination, extending museum visits into a broader cross-river experience that highlights how the region operates as a single, interconnected tourism area. Further from the city centre, but notable as a bonus stop for dedicated visitors, is Canada's Cold War Museum. Located in a former underground military bunker, the museum presents a focused look at Canada's role during the Cold War. Distance from downtown is offset by the uniqueness of the site itself. Known as the Diefenbunker, Canada's Cold War Museum was designed to operate independently in the event of a nuclear emergency, functioning as a self-contained command center beneath the surface. The experience is shaped by the bunker's original layout: narrow corridors, reinforced rooms, and strictly functional spaces reflect Cold War planning and controlled decision-making. Exhibits focus on civil defense, military coordination, and daily operations inside the Diefenbunker, emphasizing preparedness and continuity rather than direct conflict. Much of the interpretation comes from the space itself, allowing the period to be understood through physical environment as much as historical context. At the end of the visit, thanks are extended to the Diefenbunker Canada's Cold War Museum team for their media collaboration and for supporting access to the site through clear, informative, and welcoming guidance. Beyond permanent attractions, seasonal events also play an important role in Ottawa's tourism cycle. These moments shape how the city is experienced at specific times of year, adding temporary layers to otherwise familiar spaces. Among winter events, one stands out for its central location and atmosphere. Ottawa Christmas Market brings together local vendors, food stalls, and festive programming within a compact, walkable setting. Wooden chalets line the roads, offering handmade goods, seasonal treats, and warm drinks that suit cold conditions. Lighting and music create a contained environment that feels distinct from daily city rhythms, even when set against familiar streets. Integrated into the same area, the Lansdowne Park skating rink adds an active winter layer, allowing visitors to combine short skating sessions with market visits, dining, and nearby indoor spaces. What defines the market is scale and accessibility. It is designed for short visits that connect easily with surrounding attractions, making it part of a broader winter itinerary rather than a standalone trip. Together with the skating rink, the market reinforces how seasonal programming supports Ottawa's winter identity through atmosphere, timing, and shared public space. Ottawa in winter reveals a city shaped by structure, season, and continuity. From historic districts and civic landmarks to museums, waterways, and seasonal events, each part fits into a system designed to function even in the coldest months. The pattern becomes clear through movement, proximity, and how indoor and outdoor spaces support each other, allowing the city to remain accessible and coherent throughout winter. If this overview helped clarify how Ottawa works as a winter destination, consider subscribing to Wanderway for more documentary-style travel guides. Sharing your thoughts in the comments and leaving a like helps support the channel and shape future routes.